In the heart of the city, where the bustling streets gave way to overgrown weeds and crumbling concrete, stood the abandoned St. Agnes Hospital. Once a beacon of hope and healing, it now loomed like a monstrous skeleton against the twilight sky, its windows shattered and its halls choked with dust and decay. Few dared to approach the hospital, for its reputation was tainted with whispered tales of darkness and despair. It was said that those who entered never returned the same, if they returned at all. One dreary autumn evening, a group of adventurous teenagers gathered at the hospital's rusted gates. Sarah, the bravest of the bunch, dared the others to join her in exploring the forsaken corridors that were said to echo with the tortured cries of the past. Reluctantly, they pushed open the gates, their hinges groaning as if in protest. The air inside was thick with a musty stench, the silence broken only by the faint drip-drip of water leaking from the ceiling. The floors creaked beneath their hesitant footsteps, and shadows danced ominously along the walls. As they ventured deeper, the temperature seemed to drop, sending shivers down their spines. Cobwebs draped like funeral veils across doorways, and old hospital equipment lay scattered about like discarded remnants of a forgotten nightmare. Suddenly, a distant sound echoed through the corridors, a low, guttural moan that froze their blood. Panic surged through the group as they realized they were not alone. Whispers slithered through the darkness, echoing their names in twisted, mocking tones. They stumbled upon a ward where rusted bed frames stood like silent sentinels, each bed draped with tattered sheets that fluttered in an unseen breeze. Footsteps echoed eerily behind them, yet whenever they turned, the hallways stretched endlessly into darkness, offering no escape. Sarah led them deeper into the labyrinthine hospital, determined to uncover its secrets. They found themselves in the basement, where the air grew thick with the stench of decay, and the walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. Shadows flickered and danced, taking on sinister forms that seemed to leer and taunt. In a forgotten corner, they discovered a room sealed with heavy chains and padlocks. The air around it was frigid, and a sense of dread settled upon them like a suffocating blanket. Against their better judgment, they pried open the door. Inside, they found a room bathed in a sickly green light, the walls adorned with crude symbols and arcane writings. In the center of the room lay an old, weathered journal, its pages filled with the mad scribblings of a deranged mind. As they flipped through its pages, they felt a presence looming over them, a malevolent force that sought to consume their very souls. With a gasp, Sarah dropped the journal, the sound reverberating through the room like a death knell. The air grew thick with an otherworldly chill, and shadows began to coalesce into grotesque forms that reached out with ghostly fingers. In a frenzy of fear, they fled the hospital, their hearts pounding in their chests. The echoes of unholy laughter followed them out into the night, leaving them haunted by the horrors they had witnessed. To this day, the abandoned St. Agnes Hospital stands as a grim reminder of the darkness that lurks within the human soul, a place where the veil between the living and the dead grows thin, and where nightmares come to life in the cold embrace of eternal night. As the group stumbled out of the hospital grounds, their breath coming in ragged gasps, they dared not look back. The echoes of malevolent laughter still lingered in their minds, twisting their thoughts into a paranoid frenzy. Each shadow seemed to hide a lurking menace, and every creak of the night seemed to whisper their doom. They fled through the overgrown courtyard, their footsteps crunching on dead leaves and brittle twigs. Sarah led them towards the crumbling gates, her hands trembling as she fumbled with the latch. Panic clawed at their hearts, urging them to escape the cursed place before it consumed them entirely. Finally, with a desperate shove, the gates swung open, and they spilled out onto the abandoned street beyond. Moonlight filtered through the canopy of skeletal trees, casting eerie shadows across their path. They ran, driven by fear and the instinctive need to put as much distance as possible between themselves and the hospital. But the horror did not end there. As they sprinted through the desolate streets, a sense of being watched haunted them. The very air seemed to thicken with malevolence, and the distant wail of sirens echoed through the night, a chilling reminder of the hospital's tragic past. They reached Sarah's car, parked a few blocks away, and piled inside without a word. The engine roared to life, and they sped away into the darkness, the hospital fading into the rearview mirror like a sinister mirage. Days passed, but the memory of their harrowing experience refused to fade. Sleep became elusive, haunted by nightmares of shadowy figures and echoing cries. Each of them bore the weight of an unshakable dread, a constant reminder that some horrors cannot be unseen or forgotten. Sarah, plagued by guilt for leading her friends into such danger, sought solace in research. She delved into the history of St. Agnes Hospital, uncovering tales of tragic experiments and unspeakable atrocities committed within its walls. Rumors of a deranged doctor who conducted forbidden rituals in the basement fueled her nightmares, each detail resonating with the horrors they had witnessed. One evening, as she pored over old documents and faded photographs, a chilling realization dawned upon her. In one of the photos, amidst a group of grim-faced doctors, stood a figure whose eyes burned with an unearthly intensity, a figure she had glimpsed in the shadows of the hospital. The revelation sent a shiver down her spine. It was not just a place of abandonment. St. Agnes Hospital was a nexus of evil, a dark portal where the boundaries between life and death, sanity and madness, had been shattered long ago. Haunted by the specter of that malevolent presence, Sarah knew she could not rest until she uncovered the truth and put an end to the curse that gripped the hospital. With a newfound determination, she rallied her friends, and together they embarked on a quest to confront the darkness that had tainted their lives. Armed with courage born of desperation and fueled by a thirst for answers, they returned to the hospital under the cover of night. The air crackled with tension as they navigated the decrepit corridors, retracing their steps through the labyrinthine maze of shadows and echoes. Their journey led them once more to the basement, where the oppressive atmosphere seemed to thicken with each step. They found the room with the green-tinged light and the arcane symbols, the journal lying undisturbed where Sarah had dropped it. With trembling hands, Sarah picked up the journal and began to read aloud the cryptic passages within. As she spoke the final incantation, the air around them grew heavy with anticipation. Shadows writhed and twisted, coalescing into a spectral figure that materialized before their eyes, a manifestation of the doctor's malevolent spirit. The ghostly figure glared at them with eyes that burned like coals, its voice a chilling whisper that echoed through their minds. It spoke of suffering and torment, of twisted ambitions and the thirst for power that had driven it to commit unspeakable acts. But Sarah, fueled by righteous fury and a determination to banish the darkness, stood her ground. With words of courage and resolve, she confronted the specter, challenging its hold over the hospital and demanding justice for its victims.